Whispers Beneath Wuyin Temple, a first-person horror tale set in the mountains of Yunnan. Part 1. The Road to Wuyin. They told me not to go. Every villager I met along the Yunnan trail had the same hollow look in their eyes, as if they'd seen something they wished to forget. Whenever I mentioned Wuyin Temple, conversations died mid-sentence. The old ones would mutter short prayers. The younger ones simply walked away. It was said that the temple once stood proud atop the mist-veiled cliffs of Mount Wuyin, where 100 monks devoted themselves to silence and purity. But one night, over a century ago, the rain turned red, and by dawn, every monk had vanished. Since then, the mountain was left to rot, consumed by mist and stories too dark to repeat. Curiosity was my curse. I was a traveler, a historian of forgotten places. Legends were my compass. So when an old map showed the faint ink of a forgotten temple deep in the woods, I followed it. By dusk, I reached a dying village at the mountain's base. Wooden homes leaned like old men in prayer, and the air reeked of damp ash. An old man stopped me, clutching my sleeve with bony fingers. His voice cracked as he whispered, "Do not climb the mountain after sunset. And if you hear the bell ring after midnight, don't look toward it. Don't answer." That night, I stayed in a decrepit inn. The walls breathed with the wind. The rafters groaned like old bones. I had just begun to drift into uneasy sleep when I heard it, faint and distant. Ding ding, the toll of a temple bell deep in the fog. Something inside me, foolish, hungry curiosity, pushed me out of bed. I stepped outside, barefoot on the cold earth. The mist rolled down the mountain like smoke from a dying fire. And far above, where there should have been only ruins, I saw lanterns, dozens of them, flickering like souls in the wind. Part 2. The Silent Monks. The climb felt endless. The higher I went, the colder it became. The path twisted unnaturally, as though it didn't want me to reach the top. Trees loomed like tall, silent watchers. My lantern flickered, dying and relighting, as if breathing in fear. When I finally reached the gates of Wuyin Temple, I froze. They stood wide open, waiting. Lanterns burned on both sides, yet their flames were a strange blue-white, casting no warmth. Inside the courtyard, I saw them, monks, dozens of them, sitting cross-legged in perfect lines, their heads bowed, lips moving in silent prayer. Their robes were tattered, faded by time. "Hello," I whispered. No one answered. Then, slowly, as if responding to an invisible command, they all turned their heads toward me at once. Their faces were pale as ash, and I realized with horror, their eyes were stitched shut. One monk rose. His movements were stiff, unnatural, like a puppet being pulled by strings. He pointed toward the inner altar and said in a voice that didn't sound human, "She waits beneath." Before I could react, his head snapped backward with a sharp crack. His body collapsed, and the others resumed their silent prayer, as though nothing had happened. I stumbled back toward the gates, but they were gone. In their place was a wall of wet stone, pulsing faintly as though it breathed. And from deep within the temple came the sound again. Ding ding, the bell. Louder now, closer, calling me. Part 3, the chamber below. I don't remember how I found the staircase, only that I was suddenly standing before it, a narrow spiral of stone leading into darkness. The walls wept moisture. The air was heavy with the stench of rust and incense. Symbols were carved into the stone, smeared with something that glistened wetly. I touched it. The smell was unmistakable. Blood. At the bottom was a massive underground hall lined with statues of monks, each kneeling with their heads severed cleanly at the neck. Their faces lay at their own feet, mouths open mid-chant. In the center stood a shrine. Before it, a woman in tattered white robes knelt, her hair cascading over her shoulders like a black waterfall. "Are you real?" I asked before I could stop myself. She turned. Her face was beautiful and ruined all at once, her features flickering between the living and the dead, like a candle burning through flesh. "You heard the bell," she whispered, her voice distant yet intimate, echoing inside my skull. "Now you must ring it too." She reached out. Her hand was icy, but alive, pulsing faintly, as though something beneath the skin still moved. When she touched me, visions flooded my mind. Monks screaming, walls bleeding, the temple burning under a crimson moon. Then the woman smiled, revealing a mouth that stretched too wide, with black teeth like obsidian shards. Part 4. The Crimson Bell. When I awoke, I was lying on the temple floor. The woman was gone. Only a faint humming filled the air. Before me stood a colossal bronze bell, etched with patterns that seemed to shift when I wasn't looking. The figures on its surface writhed as though trapped within. My reflection on the bell shimmered, but I wasn't alone. Behind me stood the monks, motionless, their heads bowed. A voice whispered inside my mind, calm and commanding. "Ring it." I lifted the wooden hammer beside me. My hands trembled as I swung. The sound that erupted wasn't a bell's toll. It was a scream, deep and resonant, shaking the air itself. The monks convulsed, their mouths tearing open wider than humanly possible. From their throats poured shadows, thick as smoke, swirling around me, pulled into the bell's hungry mouth. Then silence. Utter, consuming silence. I felt something behind me. When I turned, only one monk remained, the young one whose neck had broken earlier. His head hung an unnatural angle, but his mouth moved slowly. "You freed her," he croaked and collapsed. Part 5. The Woman in White. Outside, dawn never came. The mist had turned red, thick as blood, suffocating the world. The forest below was gone, replaced by an ocean of darkness that moved as if alive. From the bell tower, she descended. Lady Wuyin, her white robes dragged across the ground, leaving trails of frost. Her face, now whole, shone with the calm beauty of a goddess, but her eyes were bottomless, reflecting nothing. She spoke softly, her voice both soothing and terrible. "I was once the keeper of this temple. They call me Lady Wuyin. The monks betrayed me. They sought eternity through my blood. They sealed me beneath their prayers." Her gaze lifted to the bell. Their chants became my chains. For 100 years, I listened to their silence. Now, the silence is broken. She touched my forehead. Images surged through me again. Monks bleeding, screaming, binding her in ritual circles, walls pulsing with their hearts. And then the moment of betrayal. One monk striking the final bell to seal her forever. Her hand dropped and I gasped. "Why me?" She smiled. "Because you heard what should not be heard. You looked where no one should look. Now, you belong to me." She stepped closer. "The villagers below fear the bell because it calls to them. Soon, they will come. They always do." Her eyes glowed, faintly red. "You will welcome them for me." Part 6. The Last Toll. I ran. Through the temple, through the forest, or what I thought was the forest. But every path turned back on itself, leading me once again to the temple gates. The world outside was gone. Only mist and echoes remained. I tried to sleep, but the bell tolled endlessly inside my skull. Ding, ding, ding. Sometimes slow, sometimes maddeningly fast. Days passed, or perhaps years. Time had no meaning there. My reflection in the puddles grew pale, thinner each time I looked. I began to see faces in the mist. The monks, the woman, the villagers who must have come after me, all whispering the same phrase. "You've heard the bell." One night, the woman returned. She stood beside me as though she had never left. Her hand rested lightly on my shoulder, and she whispered, "You've been ringing it for so long, haven't you?" And I understood. The sound that haunted the mountains, the toll that drove villagers mad. It wasn't the bell. It was me. My body had become hollow, my voice stretched thin, vibrating with every echo. I was the bell's voice now, tolling through the mist, calling others who dared to listen. Sometimes, through the haze, I hear footsteps, another traveler, another fool drawn by curiosity. I try to warn them, but the sound comes out as that same terrible toll. So if you ever wander through the mountains of Yunnan, and the fog thickens until you can't tell ground from sky, if you hear a bell ringing faintly in the distance, don't look toward it. Don't answer, because it's me you'll hear, and she's still waiting for someone new to ring the bell.